So expounding on this whole cycle thing, I want to go to Genesis chapter 16, verse 7 to 12, New Living Translation. It says, the angel of the Lord found Hagar beside a spring of water in the wilderness along the road to Shur. And the angel said to her, Hagar, Sarai's servant, where have you come from and where are you going? So we'll recap this. Abram at this time, who later became Abraham, and his wife Sarai, who later became Sarah, had a servant back when they were Abram and Sarai, who was named Hagar. And she was a slave. She was a servant unto them. She had a slave mentality. And because Sarai could not have any children, but indeed Hagar was fertile, Sarai gave her husband, Abram, to Hagar to have a child, because Sarai was just barren. It says, later on, it says, I'm running away from my mistress Sarai, she replied, because she was angry at her. Sarai was angry at her. And the angel of the Lord said to her, return to your mistress and submit to her authority. Then he added, I will give you more descendants than you can count. The angel also said, you are now pregnant and will give birth to a son. You are to name him Ishmael, which means God hears. For the Lord has heard your cries of distress. This son of yours will be a wild man, as untamed as a wild donkey. He will raise his fist against everyone, and everyone will be against him. Yes, he will live in open hostility against all his relatives. Okay. Now let's move on to Genesis chapter 17, verses 17 through 22. It says, and then Abraham bowed to the ground. So the conversion has happened. Okay. Abram has been transformed into Abraham, and Sarai has been transformed into Sarah. Okay, by the power of God. It says, and then Abraham bowed down to the ground, but he laughed to himself in disbelief. How could I become a father at the age of 100, he thought. And how can Sarah have a baby when she is 90 years old? So Abraham said to God, may Ishmael live under your special blessing. So now Sarah has become pregnant. Okay. But God replied, no, Sarah, your wife, will give birth to a son for you, and you will name him Isaac. And I will confirm my covenant with him and his descendants as an everlasting covenant. As for Ishmael, I will bless him also, just as you have asked. I will make him extremely fruitful and multiply his descendants. He will become the father of 12 princesses, and I will make him a great nation, but my covenant will be confirmed with Isaac, who will be born to you and Sarah about this time next year. When God had finished speaking, he left Abraham. So I want everybody to understand this. Hagar had the son Ishmael, who was called to be a wild man. Okay? Ishmael draws a correlation to the Gentiles because it was a slave mentality. Hagar was a servant. Ishmael represents, biblically, the unstable man. How he was not covered and he did not know. He was not brought up in the way. Okay? Many of us are Gentiles. Alright? Now, Isaac, it says that the Lord confirmed his covenant with Abraham through Isaac. Okay? Which means that Isaac was, we talk about the Jews and all those things. He was the forefather of the chosen people. All right, the people who knew. All right. So I want to go right now to Galatians chapter 4, verses 21 through 30. It says, "Tell me, you who want to live under the law, do you know what the law actually says?" So we have Isaac who really established the covenant, which is the law with, between Abraham and God. And this is the law that we're talking about right now. It says, the scriptures say that Abraham had two sons, one from his slave wife and one from his freeborn wife. The son of the slave wife was born in a human attempt to bring about the fulfillment of God's promise. But the son of the freeborn wife was as God's own fulfillment of his promise. Let me read that one more time. I want everybody to grasp this. The son of the slave wife was born in the human attempt to bring about the fulfillment of God's promise. But the son of the freeborn wife was born as God's own fulfillment of his promise. This is awesome because we try to break our cycle. God can only break the cycle. Okay? This was an attempt with Hagar to break a cycle. They had no children. Okay? I was abiding in something that they didn't have any children. Him and Sarai, Abram and Sarai didn't have any children. They were trying to break that, and they were trying to assume position to break what hadn't been happening. Okay, because she was barren. But the Lord put His hand on Sarah and said, "You are going to have a son, and you will name him Ishmael." Breaking the cycle. All right. It says, reading on, it says, these two men serve as an illustration of God's two covenants. The first woman, Hagar, represents Mount Sinai, where people received the law as the law that enslaved them. And now Jerusalem is like the Mount Sinai in Arabia, because she and her children live in slavery to the law. So this is like a wow right now, because we have Jerusalem, and we have these Jews now who are abiding in the law that was previous unto Christ, which is not right, because he did what he did. We should give him all the glory and all the power, because he is the new covenant. It says, reading on, it says, but the other woman, Sarah, represents the heavenly Jerusalem. She is the free woman, and she is our mother. As Isaiah said, rejoice, O childless woman. You who have never given birth, break into a joyful shout. You who have never been in labor, for the desolate woman now has more children than the woman who lives with her husband. And you, dear brothers and sisters, are now the children of the promise, just like Isaac. But you are now being persecuted for those who want to keep the law, just as Ishmael. Wow. The child born by human effort persecuted Isaac, the child born by the power of the Spirit. But what do the scriptures say about that? Get rid of the slave and her son, for the son of the slave woman will not share the inheritance of the free woman's son. So, dear brothers and sisters, we are not children of the slave woman. We are children of the free woman. So Christ, and this is 1 chapter 5, verse 1, it says, so Christ has truly set us free. Now make sure that you stay free and don't get tied up again into the slavery of the law. Abide in the tangent. Abide in God's tangent. Do not continue to go around the cycle. Don't try to effortlessly break your cycle, because you cannot do it. For all power comes to God. Okay? Because all cycles are not by your hands. They are invoked by a spirit that previously lived, that previously is who you are. But that spirit must be broken through the Spirit of the living God, which is the Holy Spirit. So hold this down in your hearts, and hold it down in your souls, and really understand that your cycle does not define you, and that you can go on that 180 and not abide in 360. This is Trey G for Chats with Trey. Be blessed. Peace.